Okay, let me start this session. This is how do you introduce yourself in a very effective way and create a great first impression. In my coaching sessions or in my training classes work, then people say we have this kind of introduction. It happens all the time, especially some of the people in the meeting that you don't know or they don't know you. So we do this. And a lot of times I heard my friends, my clients talk about themselves in a way very, very simple. For example, I use my name here. My name is Michelle. I'm a developer in the Microsoft Office team. So that's about it, right? Occasionally people add one more thing. Oh, I work on analytical features for Office. That's their introduction most of the time. But I want to talk about one way that can make it a little bit different and leave something more than this to other people. Let's go to the next slide. The way we are going to do it is personal brand. When we say personal brand, that means how you show up and how other people see you. It's something that you can build it, right, intentionally. Even if you don't build your personal brand, you never heard about this word, that's fine. Because when people ask you, for example, other people talk about Michelle, if they know me, they will use a couple of words to describe me. That's the brand, the impression they got of me. If you know, okay, everybody has a brand, it's like a product, everybody have a brand, then you will start to purposely build it. And how you say in your introduction, that can be one of the way to do it. There are many different ways to put together your personal introduction, including this, I call it a personal brand statement. This is one of the ways of doing that. If you search online, personal brand, you will find many different formulas there. So the formula I'm showing you here, I hope you have a pen and a paper. You can start to write down. These are the 3 steps. The first step, you want to think about your own strengths or your core skills. This is how you are different than others, right? How does your mix of strengths and skills makes a difference of you to other people? For example, when I was working at Microsoft, I use this example so that people who are working in Microsoft or in other companies can relate more. This is more related to your work. So I use my personal brand I developed when I was at Microsoft. I list a couple of things there. Of course, I have other skills, a lot of things, but these are the ones differentiate me to other people in Redmond, in the headquarters. And these are the ones I want people remember me. So I emphasize, oh, I know about China. I also know how to get customer insights. And I did a lot of product planning and marketing. I have those skills. And I also know how to execute. So I list down these couple of things here. Then after you list your core strengths, skills you want to emphasize, then you think about, okay, what is your unique contribution or the value to the organization? For me, when I was working there, well, I really spent time focusing on the China strategy, things related to China, because at that time, I really wanted to do things really related to China. That's my strength, and that's where I want people remember me. So the things I did and the kind of value I have for Microsoft, I said, well, I can develop a China strategy. I do this product planning and marketing for the Chinese users. And I also do the execution part to bring products to China. So after you list down these kind of things, then you can start to put them together, develop a couple of sentences. We call it a personal brand statement. So you merge these together and make it in some sentences. For example, the one I put here is, I help Microsoft develop products suitable for the Chinese market and bring the products to these customers. I do this through my understanding of the market, my skills in finding customer insights and product planning, and my experience in go-to-market strategy and execution. You see, it's a massage of the things in my, I had in the 2 parts earlier. So that's how the tool works. So I give you this tool, and it's your turn to craft your own personal brand statement. And I also give you a template that you can use, right? My name is blah, blah, blah. I am a program manager or a software engineer. I do or I help something through using my skill 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here, then you massage this together and you can do your introduction. So this is a personal brand statement plus your introduction. And again, with the personal brand statement I just showed you, I put it here because I changed the roles pretty often in Microsoft. So I start with, okay, I'm Michelle Zhou. I do this, my personal brand statement. Then I talk about, I can say, oh, my current role is to manage the ecosystem for XYZ product in China. Or for the China market. If you want to know anything about China, you can come to chat with me. So I open it, invite people, come to me. And this really worked very well for me. When I was in Microsoft, at that time, Bill Gates was still working full-time at Microsoft. And within 1 year, everybody know me, Michelle, the China person or the China expert. I was in Redmond, and then I was invited to do a presentation for Bill Gates on the China internet market. I was like just 1 year into the company at that time. So it really worked. And people, they meet me, they say, oh, you're the China person. It looks like the China is carved in my forehead. It's your turn. Let's take a few minutes and write down your own brand statement. And then later we will practice. So I will give you a couple of minutes here.
I think you guys in a few minutes could hopefully maybe fill out the template, the blue area there, and at least have, my name is Nicole. I am an English language and communication coach. I help second language English speakers using my expertise, okay, anyhow. So it's not easy and quick to do, but at least in a few minutes, in 5 minutes, I think you guys can get a good start on this.
One question here is how to build deep personal connections. So that's not just in a situation that you do a little bit of social chat before we start to talk about work. You probably need to invest more time and more energy in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Building some more deeper relationship is going to take multiple contacts with the same person and having many conversations and going to coffee, having lunch together, spending more time together. And you're not going to have a deep personal connection with a lot of people, but probably a handful of people. But in business situations, we're looking to just, I guess, meet people, build our network up, get to know who's around us, and maybe, who we would like to get to know better, who can help us, who we can help. So the more people that you meet, the more doors that can open and the more opportunities that you have to move up in your career, to do more interesting things in your life. So yeah, building deep connections takes a long time and can take years, really years. Mm-hmm. But be open. If you're open and you share who you are, people are open back and they share about themselves. So.
Right. I think one of the topics we can talk in the future is how do you find mentors? I helped a lot of people find mentors, then how they can use their mentors, right? It's a mutual beneficial, not just you use them, they also learn from you. I'm very specialized in career development and leadership. There's a lot of things Nico and I can join to put together in the future. Yeah, how to find sponsors, how to find mentors. Great. Yeah, keep on sending your thoughts, your comments, questions in the chat. We will collect these and we probably will do more workshops in the future, no matter what platform. There's a lot of ideas on, okay, these are the things people care about, then we can put together something for you. One thing I want to also help you understand is your introduction, it will be tailored by the people you talk with. Remember when Nico and I started, we did our 30 seconds introduction. In that demo, my introduction is very different compared to the one I just showed you when I was working at Microsoft. And here is another one. This one is my podcast. I think when you sign up for this session, you see those information of our introduction, and my introduction is much longer than what I did in the very beginning, the 30 seconds. I have two podcasts. One is in Chinese, one is in English. The Chinese one is called 听美笑讲述美国故事. You can find it on Himalaya FM application. And the English one is called In China with Michelle Zhou. It's on all those major podcast platforms. So in that podcast, every session, I start with this introduction. Welcome to In China with Michelle Zhou, and I'm your host, Michelle. I'm the founder and CEO of Pacific Technologies Consulting Group. We help American and Chinese organizations learn from each other, bridge their needs, and grow their businesses internationally. See, this is very different than the introduction I did earlier when we started, right? Because the audience are very different. I do consulting for companies if they do US-China cross-border business. This is a podcast that targeted this kind of audience, or professionals who are interested in China, or people who are doing business with China, or university students who are thinking about going to work in China, or whoever is interested in China. So I have audience worldwide. This is talking to them. So when you do your introduction, think about who are the people you are talking with. So you tailored it. Then how do you say your introduction? Well, Nicole has a lot of tips and things to watch.
So how you say your introduction. You want to help people pronounce and remember your name if it's not a common name. And this goes for second language speakers, people from other countries with names that are coming from languages that may be unfamiliar to people, but it also goes for Americans as well. And I'm going to give you an example from my name, actually, and what I have to do sometimes because I have an unusual last name. First of all, let me talk about my first name. So my first name is Nicole. Now, all Americans are familiar with the name Nicole. They've heard it often enough. It's not extremely common, but it's common enough that they've heard it before. And there are some famous Nicoles like Nicole Kidman. So Americans are all familiar with that, and they know it's pronounced Nicole. But most of my students, the people I work with, are coming from other languages, and they have kind of internalized that the stress goes on the first part of an American name. So they always call me Nicole. But it's Nicole, and it's Nicole, stress on the second part, because my name is of French origin. It came from the French language. And so French tends to stress the end points, right? Nicole, rather than the beginning of the first syllable. And coincidentally, the name Michelle also has that stress pattern. So Nicole, Michelle, and a few other names. My mom's name, Colleen, and another French name, Monique, also have that stress pattern where they're stressing that second part. Now here's where it gets a little more interesting. My last name. My last name is of Germanic origin, so it's from German. So Americans don't know what to do with the AU in my name because AU can be pronounced different ways in English. Some people try and say Kaup. Occasionally people recognize it as German and will pronounce it Kaup. But usually I always have to spell it. If somebody says, what's your last name? I automatically spell it. I don't even say it. I just say it's K-A-U-P. So that's something for you to remember as well. You know, spell your name if you know nobody's going to get it. And I always kind of add this in it. It's pronounced Kaup, like the animal, cow.
When I came to the US for my MBA, that was back in the 90s, and I was using my Chinese name. It's Yingyi Zhou. A lot of times people could not, they were not sure about how to pronounce my name. And I heard people call me Yinggai Zhu. So there are a couple of things I did. One is, of course, I was very patient helping them to, say my Chinese name. Then when I started working in the US, I decided to use my English name, which is Michelle Zhou. Even with Michelle, Michelle Zhou. Sometimes people pronounce my last name with very funny things like Zhu. Then I tell people it's Zhou. It's like it's not the the zoo where animal lives. So that that helps people remember my name, Michelle Zhou.
Nice. All right. So also on the same note, if you're new to the United States, you're not familiar with all the possible names that are out there, especially last names. So you want to ask people. It's better to ask them how to pronounce their name than to just stay quiet and not say it. It's definitely good to remember people's names and to use their names, but it's very appropriate to ask for their help on how to say their name. So you know what, can you say that again for me? Can you pronounce your name? Could you write that for me? I'm sorry, I'm really not, I really want to know how to pronounce your name. Can you help me out with that? So people will definitely appreciate that.
Right. And I coach people worldwide. A lot of times those names are pretty hard to pronounce.
Right,
and I wasn't sure, right? In different countries, pronounced differently. When I'm not sure, I ask people, can you teach me how to say your name?
Absolutely.
To make sure I pronounce it correctly.
I think that is making a good personal connection with people too. It shows that you're taking enough interest that you really want to say their name correctly. Even if maybe you're not able to, you're trying. And I think people really do respond to that. So I know a lot of our viewers are Chinese today, and a lot of Chinese have English names. Not all do, but a lot have chosen an English name. If you have chosen an English name, it's probably now your legal name, and it's probably not something you will change. So you want to make sure that you are able to pronounce that name so that other people can understand it. And on that note, let me give you just a quick little story. When I was teaching in China, and in the first few weeks that I got to the college I was teaching at, a student ran up to me one day as I was walking to class and like, "Hi teacher, I'm so excited to meet you. Oh, I'm so excited that you're new foreign teacher." There was only 2 of us foreign teachers. So it was very exciting when there was a new foreign teacher on campus. So he came up to me and he says, "Hi, my name is," and I was like, "What?" And I asked him, "I'm sorry, what's your name?" And he said it again, and I was still like, "I'm sorry, what?" And so finally, he wrote it down for me, and I went, "Oh, Evan." He wasn't able to pronounce the V sound. And strangely, the name Evan is actually fairly simple, and with just a very quick lesson on how to pronounce the V, he's able to, pronounce his name correctly. For most second language speakers, no matter what language they're coming from, Chinese or another language, Charles is going to be very, very difficult to pronounce because it ends with R, a dark L sound, and a Z sound, and they are all blended together. And each of those sounds individually is difficult, and putting them together becomes impossible. So it's not to say that if your name is Charles, you can never pronounce it, but it will take some practice and some coaching to be able to pronounce each of those individual sounds, and finally to put them together as one. So it's not hopeless if you have a name that's difficult to pronounce, but it will take definitely some time and coaching to make sure that it's understandable. Esther's another one. Esther's a name that's not extremely common in English currently, and especially what would throw us is the silent H in there too. So, and then the at the end, so that would be a tricky one too. And things with V's and L's and R's, and especially in combination, tend to be tricky. Oh, and finally, initializations. When you're doing your introduction, you may have some combinations of initials in there, such as CEO, MBA, IT director, UW. So for this, you want to make sure that you pronounce each of those letters separately, and you're going to hold the last letter a little bit longer. So listen like this: CEO, MBA, IT. The last one's a little bit weird, even for me. I'm not from Seattle, and when I hear UW, I'm like, what does that mean, UW? How to create a great first impression online. I went and looked through a little bit to see how you guys appeared on your camera there, and I think you guys are doing a pretty good job, actually. In online video meetings, you want to make sure that you are making eye contact, just like you would make eye contact if you were talking in person. And what that means is that you are facing your camera, that you are looking into your camera. What I often see is things like this, where I see somebody ceiling, or I see the top of their head, or they're looking at their second monitor over here, and I kind of see the side of their face and their ear. So eye contact, look at your camera. I notice you all have your videos turned off, which is actually good in a large meeting like this. You want to minimize on-camera distractions so other people aren't distracted by seeing what's going on in your house there. So it's a good idea to turn off your video. And if you are in a smaller meeting where you're actually speaking and the camera's on you, minimize distractions. Make sure you're not eating, your cat's not jumping up on your computer, that your small children aren't there bouncing around in front of the screen. I was going to say I have a quick story. This happened to me a month or two ago. I was in actually a webinar. It was a 1-hour webinar, the kind where we're not going to be talking pretty much. So I get in there, you know, I stop my video. I'm muted so nobody sees what I'm doing. But the lady that was right under the speaker that I was able to see her picture and everybody else was vigorously painting a canvas the entire time. And I kept thinking, turn that off. I'm like, what are you doing? It was very, very distracting because I kept trying to see what she was painting. It was very strange. So turn off your videos so others can't see that. And also stay on mute when you're not talking so we don't hear your phone ringing, your dog barking, and those sorts of things. Close apps that make noise if you have email notifications, so that sort of thing. You all look good. I notice everybody's muted and the videos are off, so everybody's good with that. Smile! Just like in an in-person meeting, in an online meeting, you want to smile as well. Look friendly, look approachable. In American culture, we smile a lot. We're just trained to do it. So make sure to smile as well. It's kind of expected, and it makes you seem friendly and happy and likable to others. Be confident, like yourself. I know a lot of people kind of lack self-confidence, especially when you're speaking a second language. You might be like, oh my gosh, my English is not that great. You know what, forget that. Just be who you are, love yourself. I mean, seriously think, you know what? I'm really cool. You know, I've done really cool things. I have this really great job. You know, people want to know about me. They're interested in finding out about me. If you really like yourself, you think you're a cool person, other people will too. So just go in with that mentality of, hey, I'm likable, people like me, and they will. Be yourself. Don't try to if you're an introvert, don't try to all of a sudden be really chatty. It's just not who you are. If you're kind of a serious person, don't start making jokes because it's just not who you are. So be yourself. Don't be too serious. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. You know, things happen. We're on here. It's like, oh my gosh, the PowerPoint's not working. What am I going to do? Don't be too serious about it. It's like, oh, well, okay. You know, make a joke of it. Have a sense of humor. It's not, you know, it's not a big deal. And be friendly. Before you get onto these calls, if you know you're going to have the opportunity to talk to people, prepare ahead of time. Prepare some questions that you think that you could use to talk to people. And if you really can't remember how to make small talk, you want to print off the handout that we're going to send you later and keep it next to your computer so you'll have a little cheat sheet that you know, okay, I'm talking to strangers. I'm going to ask them where they're located. I'm going to ask them where they're from. I'm going to, you know, ask them what they're doing this weekend, that sort of thing. So keep a cheat sheet. And if you are not extremely chatty yourself, get others to talk. Ask them the question and let them just talk. Show you're listening. Make sure you nod your head, say, uh-huh, right. You know, you want to make sure that you are also participating in that conversation, even if you are not doing a huge amount of talking. Okay. We've gotten to the breakout section. We are going to give you guys 10 minutes in breakout rooms. We're going to assign you groups of 3 people at random, so we don't know who you will be paired with. And we want you to practice what you've just learned, introducing yourself in an effective way and creating a great first impression. Make sure to incorporate your personal brand statement if you've been able to create that. And once you're finished with that, go ahead and do a little small talk, kind of practice that, kind of get used to that idea of what do I talk to with strangers or colleagues I haven't seen for a while.